Or what, your whole fucking family will be murdered, huh?
His name is Javi Elizondo.
He runs a drug cartel.
You fucking cunt! If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to fucking kill me!
Yes, that's right. Ozark season 4, the first 7 episodes have aired, but we are just getting started here on Superman or Bros Podcasting, coming at you. This is we're on the end stretch here. This is the first half of the end, and we'll see the second half at an undisclosed time. But this first half was jam packed and really could have been a finale in and of itself. The fact that there's more story is always like just a treat here on Ozark. But I'm your host here, Jeff Mader, joined by co-host Dave Mader, ready to talk about this these 7 episodes. Dave, well, I understand it that you didn't start watching until very, very recently. This show.
Yeah, we're here to talk about these first 7 episodes of season 4. But in a lot of Jeff, you and I have never talked about this show at all, really, no. Because I've only binge watched the first 3 seasons somewhat recently. It was like in the last couple of months. My wife Jane's been watching it longer. And I would get glimpses of it, and I would walk in on her watching certain scenes. I remember, in particular, the scene where Darlene kills that drug cartel guy at the end of season 1. And I was like, oh, this show's intense. And I'm a fan of Breaking Bad and Sons of Anarchy, and I think that there are shades of both shows, or in certain respects here. But this is a really well done program. Good, great story. And if this was the finale, if this ended here on this 7th episode of season 4, that would have been something. But I think that there's still more story to go. So I'm excited to get into it and break it all down. But it was quite a start to this 4th and final season.
And in fairness, Amanda and I didn't start watching until right after season 3 came out. So we kind of did the same thing where we binged 3 seasons in a row. But the thing is, all the episodes come out at once. So it's like just when you started watching, I guess. But to watch this season 4 come out and have been into the show is kind of a nice treat here. Not like having the wait and now having this next wait for the next 7 episodes. I think is kind of good because I think what a good TV show should do is build some dialogue amongst the fans of like what's going on, what character means what, the symbolism. There's so many different things to look into this show for that I think they do really well, and what different characters are battling with, and loss and addiction. This show kind of covers it all. So this story, though, here in season 7 is kind of an interesting, where the characters are all in a weird spot in a lot of ways. Especially like Ruth is over with Darlene, and Darlene is,
and so is Jonah,
Wyatt, and Jonah has kind of decided to kind of be in both camps in a way because he's living at home, but he's kind of gone full Darlene Ruth throughout the season because he feels betrayed by his mother, who Laura Linney's character Wendy, who basically gave up her own brother to be murdered by the cartel because it was an easy solution. And even though it was tough for her, she still went through it. And it's almost like, she knows it was messed up, but at the same time, she's like, I think both her and Marty convince themselves they're in impossible situations, and they never seem to actually have to make a decision that would, like Wendy was the first person to have to do it. Like, I haven't really seen where Marty's had to like really make a morally tough decision for himself, and his own family.
I think that for him it was when he killed the pastor. And of course we are getting into spoilers. Of course, all seasons, every episode that has aired to date of Ozark. If that wasn't already obvious, but we will be talking about it all. Yeah, and that who was that? The pastor, the guy. I
forget his name, but Zeke's his father. Yes, and there was a whole thing with.
He's the father of Zeke.
in season 1 where they basically murdered those 2 people systematically and took the baby, and somehow the baby ended up with Darlene, and just everything that happened early on with the pastor was
Pastor Mason. So I think, and even though it was pretty much self-defense, I think for Marty that was his him crossing that line, because he's not violent, right? And so I think for him to have to do that, I think was particularly tough for him. I think he's had to do some tough things. And for Wendy, it was her brother and all of it, giving him up like she did. But on the other hand, I don't know. I kind of understood why she made those decisions.
I think that's what makes a good kind of I wouldn't say she's very much like an antagonist character, kind of like an anti-hero, a lot like a Walter White, where you kind of sympathize with why she feels she's in this situation and why she, what the rationalizations are for some of the decisions that she makes. And I think with Wendy, I just think what I was comparing before was with having to give up your own brother is a lot more difficult than, killing some pastor in self-defense that, yes, you kind of messed up his life, but it was also indirect. And everything with Marty, I think that's what we're going to get here in the next 7 episodes, is something more with Marty. That is going to be morally, what's he going to do? Is he going to do the right thing or the wrong thing morally to his family? Or that's kind of the crux of the show. But here in the first season, Dave, right in the first episode, did you notice that there's this whole situation where they're driving in a minivan, all 4 of them together, and there's a huge car crash, and this is clearly taking place after the events of episode 7. We don't know.
Right. I thought it was interesting that, it starts off with this scene in the car, the 4 of them, and it crashes, and then they kind of pick up where they left off last season, in the following scene. And I was expecting that car crash to come at the end of the 7th episode. It doesn't. Those events, not even them in the car together, by the end of that 7th episode. So maybe that's the last episode. That will be the 14th episode, them crashing. And is that the end of the story for them?
I think it's going to be the start of episode. I think it's going to be episode 8. I think they're going to have it start off both first 7 episodes. Because I think it makes sense, because they're also supposed to go to Chicago, right? Once they feel like they're out of the cartel's grasp, and I can see that happening earlier, not at the end, because everything moved really quickly here at the end, and especially in episode 7. Right. But with Marty and the family unit, it seems like that's going to come back together. They're all going to go back to Chicago, and that's when that crash is going to occur.
And what do you think the result of that crash is? Are they dead, or is one of them dead? All of them dead? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't think any of them are going to be dead, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, people can die in a car crash like that, where it rolls 3 or 4 times
easily.
Easily any one of them could be dead, but they're such main characters. To kill them in that way would be weird. I think I could see maybe Jonah.
The show is ending, so it doesn't. You can. Kill
I could see Jonah being killed like that, or something like that, and then Marty could change in a lot of ways. We could see I don't know. I think you could see
or both kids,
kids,
and Wendy and Marty survive.
Right. Yeah. Something like that could be really interesting, because their motivations are in a lot of ways to protect their family. That's kind of how they justify what they do.
Well, right? Yeah, and that's what all of these drama shows, these sort of criminal thriller shows, like Breaking Bad, do. I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it to, protect them. Even a show like The Walking Dead, which was all about Rick Grimes and him protecting Carl from the zombie apocalypse, right? Yep. And when spoilers for Walking Dead, if you're right. Not caught up, but when they killed Carl, eventually, the son of Rick Grimes in Walking Dead, it was well, what's the point? What was the point of any of it? because that was his driving focus, and then basically he fails his mission, right? That's the thing about this show Ozark, is that like the things they've done in the name of like protecting their kids, and I think where would that leave them if their kids were dead, I guess.
But yeah, what would their motivations be? Would they seek revenge, redemption against, like, because that's kind of what, like, here we get, I'm jumping ahead, but at the end here at season 7 with the clips you played, Ruth is gonna want to go, it seems like, go to war with like Javi, the leader of the cartel, and also an FBI informant to boot. So if she's willing, like she had that moment where with Wyatt gone, Ruth is like Marty and Wendy without their kids, so we saw like what happened with Ruth. You're right, if that happens with Marty and Wendy, how do they change? It'll be interesting.
Especially like you think about Wendy, right? Because her brother would be gone, and then her, obviously she's not too close with her dad, as we meet him in this 4th season. He's a piece of work, and so I guess like what it would shatter them even more than they're already kind of broken, both of them, up at this point. And how much time has gone by, Jeff? Like from in that original pilot in season 1, which was 2017, that was released, to these events that took up until the not the car crash notwithstanding, because we don't know how far in the future that is, but up until like I guess when Ruth drives out of that out of the bird's driveway there at the end of episode 7. Is this like a year
from the moment he moves down?
I guess the baby is kind of an indicator, because like the baby is, still pretty much a baby. So, and that, she was very pregnant when they met her, right? Not long after in those events. So
yeah, it's probably, you're right. And man, Jonah's aged a lot.
Jonah and 3.
And 3, yeah, both of them. Like, see, that's the problem with a show like this. Like, if you're gonna do 4 seasons and you have kids, and then like, when you cast,
I was trying to figure out how old Charlotte is, because she's like, I thought she was like 14 a minute ago, and then she's like at dinner drinking wine and at the restaurants and drinking. I'm like, is she 21 all of a sudden? Like, what happened?
No, yeah, she's pretty much 21 now. Yeah, wasn't she in high school like last summer?
Or I thought she was like grade 11 or something. Like she was like 2 years older than Jonah, or maybe 3 years older than Jonah.
I have a question. Has it been winter during this show? Because it would snow in the Ozarks.
It was interesting, even just watching this season. Like it would be like it looked like autumn out by like Ruth's trailer, but then it would look, maybe it was the opposite. Maybe it would look like autumn sort of around the bird's house, but then it was like more summery at like the farm, at Darlene's farm. And I was like, I think these were filmed at different times of the year, and whatnot. But yeah, I think it does snow sometimes in the Ozarks, but like I don't think they get a lot of it. I think it's more of
I think they would get a lot. Yeah, no, it would snow. It's like St. Louis. It snows in St. Louis.
Not a lot though.
It's not like the South though, is it? Missouri?
It's in the middle zone.
I wonder how much it snows there. Because I don't recall any scenes of them having to walk through snow.
No, I don't think it. I think they do get snow on occasion, but not a lot, and it doesn't.
The show is mostly filmed in Atlanta, so
yeah, no snow in Atlanta.
It snows sometimes, but very rarely.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, so like I think that's also part of it. Most of the show is shot there, on the same lake where they had Tony Stark's funeral. Dave,
is that the same place?
It's the same, like it's the same shooting location.
Yeah, I can see that. It looks now that you connect that for me, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. So they don't actually film in the Ozarks.
They do only like those shots you see where like they're showing all the boats and just the big shots, like the big crane shots they do and stuff, and the drone shots. Those are definitely in the Ozarks. But that's mostly is shot in Atlanta, this show. Because it's become like a hub of like just production, and Marvel and Disney. I guess Netflix has also set up shop there too.
Yeah, a bunch of the Avengers movies have been filmed down there too, and The Walking Dead for many years as well.
Walking Dead, yeah, I guess Walking Dead almost started. It's a good pull that you said earlier, because they all seem kind of similar. And I guess Georgia, Missouri, is there really that big a difference? Yeah, I guess there would be, but
yes and no. Like it depends, but you can pass it off. But back to the show and these characters and where everything kind of went, and what were you most surprised by, I guess, in these first 7 episodes?
Most surprised by, I saw that like Darlene and Wyatt. Okay, so the first episode starts off with, hey, look, Javi says to the birds to go tell Darlene stop selling heroin. And Marty even tells Darlene, like, look, if you don't, they're gonna act swift and act, it's gonna be brutal, and she doesn't give a shit. So I'm like, she's done. Like the minute she doesn't take that seriously, that was a big mistake.
Yeah, by the time I got to episode 7, I had forgotten about that almost, right?
See,
because
I think that's I think that's intentional.
Yeah, because I was like, well, yeah, but they told him to stop selling the heroin, but then they wanted the heroin, and then they needed to sell it to this pharmaceutical company or something, and then Marty wants to buy it, and why would he want to buy something he's not supposed to be doing? And so it's kind of all over the place about like who's got heroin, who's selling it to who, and how much of it. A little hard to track sometimes. And Javi, coming.
Well, they have that funny joke in this season where they say like I think her name's Claire, who's the head of the pharmaceutical company, says like, how many heroin dealers do you know? They're like, just the 3.
But that's and they all live like within a few minutes of each other.
Yeah, Kansas City, the cartel, and then Darlene. Which is, like, so they do address it, but it is kind of ridiculous that all these different heroin dealers just come into the show and kind of like are all in the same story.
The Snells just happen to live basically next door to them, right?
Yeah, and they also like didn't like that, like the fact that Marty, like that's the whole premise of the show, is he comes down to the Ozarks and has to deal with like the the cartel, but also the local turf too, and he's like stepping on their turf, and that's how Darlene and
that's how he meets them.
Yeah, basically. The Snells, right? Which I mean, what the one thing that surprised me the most was the fact that Wyatt kept going back to Darlene.
Right.
That was probably the thing where I was just like, really, kid? Like, really? Like, I mean, I got to a point where I was just like, is he doing this literally just for the baby? Does he actually he says he loves her, and I get it, but like at the same time, it's just like I felt like he wanted it. He actually really wanted out. There was multiple examples of him doing that, and then he doesn't, because basically they're going to take the baby away, and he wants to that was his moment to make his move.
I get all that. Like, I think I would have understood Wyatt's motivations, but if not for the whole murder thing, we saw like Darlene. Who is that guy she kills in the driveway? Who is that?
Oh, in the driveway, he was just a bodyguard for, I believe. Was he part of the cartel, or was he part of?
Was he like an investigator trying to find somebody?
No, he was a private driver for whoever. Who was it? Who drove him there? Was it Marty, or was it Ruth? Or I forget what happened in that scene.
Well, in that scene, like, I don't know, it's Ruth and Wyatt talking to Darlene while she's basically in her overcoat, like in her pajamas, and then this other guy comes up and he starts talking, and he's like, "Hello," and I got something to say, and then she just shoots him with the shotgun. And Wyatt's never seen anybody killed before like this, and then she leaves Ruth and Wyatt to bury that body, and you can see the toll it takes on Wyatt, right? Like emotionally, because Ruth's kind of had to do these kinds of things before a little bit, but not Wyatt. He's a bit more innocent, and he goes and he sleeps that night at the trailer, but he eventually does come back to her. And that's the part I'm like, I get it. If not for that, I think that the shock of that would have more of a profound effect on Wyatt.
Yeah, and you forgot the other one she does, which is Frank Cosgrove Sr. just shoots him, and then Wyatt shows like, "Hey, honey, how's it going?" and then sees him, and then like that's when he was like, does the whole breakup speech, and
well, he's like, one murder, okay, but two murders is, now you've killed a Kansas City gangster.
He's also buried like the bodies and like is guilty of accessory, like which I'm shocked the amount I mean, at the same time I'm not, but the police suck, in this show. Like how many dead bodies? Like even the sheriff gets killed in this season.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, well.
The replacement sheriff seems a little smarter.
Yeah. But like, doesn't do anything about, is this like, how many murders go unsolved? Like, I know it's a high amount, but this seems like pretty cut and dry, who to investigate.
But then I think that what was clever in the first season was that whole thing where like they thought that all those bodies were buried. They were buried on the Snell farm, right? And then they subbed them out for all like the Snell ancestors, and they said, no, this is like a burial ground of our family. So they can always just try to chalk up any graves on the property as being part of like their ancestry, because their family, whose family owned this farm first? Also, was it Jacobs or was it Darlene's family?
Jacobs,
because that's his last name. Snell is his last name. So
Darlene took it and also murdered him by putting poison cherry pits in his coffee.
Right. So
Darlene is a psycho. Like she's literally like the most psychotic person on this show, yet you kind of root for her in a weird way because she's like, not as bad as the cartel, because the cartels are just dicks and the FBI.
Yeah, but she's so impulsive, like especially with her murder.
Oh, absolutely. And like, yeah, like I wouldn't like, yeah, she kills so many people just out of the blue with that shotgun.
Always with the shotgun, and like when Frank Sr. shows up later, like when he dies, like, and he's like yelling at her in like the living room, and Jane and I just look at each other like, he's dead. She's going to go get the gun and she's going to shoot him immediately, and that's exactly what happens. You see it coming a mile away. He doesn't for some reason,
because I think that's kind of real life. Like a lot of people don't see you all of a sudden pulling a gun, boom, you're dead. Like it also happens to the sheriff where like he turns the Javi turns the music up and then turns around and shoots him,
he never met that guy before though, right? He never met, so that's a little different. That's two strangers. Like Frank Sr. underestimates Darlene, like who she is and what she's capable of, right?
Yeah, like he really does. It's considering the fact that she shot his son's dick off.
Yeah, right. That's already like part of the history, right? And so that she's dangerous at the very least. Like, bring a bodyguard with you or something. He's a gangster. Like, don't they always have like a crew with them?
Yeah, no, he's a mob boss. He's not even like he's a boss. He has capos. Like it makes no sense that he would go there alone, and like you would think he'd be.
And then nobody knew he went there.
Yeah, nobody knew he went there, which is that part doesn't seem believable to me with the whole Frank Cosgrove part. I think that was just a neat way to get rid of both of those characters, and kind of bring in the young Frank Cosgrove Jr. because I think they like his story and like where he's going more. Mm-hmm. Where the other guys were just like, Darlene and Frank Cosgrove Sr. I think they had just like run their path on the show. Like they were
right. I think. Right. I agree with that. And like, well, Frank Jr., like maybe on talking about him a bit, like I really didn't care for him too much in the third season. He's such an asshole. Mm-hmm. And then, he gets his comeuppance, and then they've taken his character a very different way so far in this fourth season.
Yeah. No, you actually like him because he's broken.
So there's almost this redemption arc for Frank Jr.
Yeah, and he's always like, even like they allude to it earlier, but like he's always kind of been like his father doesn't trust him, and doesn't give him a chance at all, and he treats him like a little kid, and doesn't let him a part of the business even though he could do it. or even give him a chance to do it. I think but he's not even given that chance. He's 40 years old, and his dad just kind of like doesn't want him involved. Not because to protect him, because he thinks he can't handle it.
Right.
And also once he gets his dick shot off, I don't think his dad handled it properly. He kind of was pretty cold to him. So there's a lot of stuff here with the different factions here, like the Kansas City mob. We have the birds themselves. We have the Darlene of it all with Wyatt and then Ruth. So we're kind of watching like these three different stories play out, but then there's also the cartel FBI angle.
Well, the cartel in general, right? Because like the end of season 3 is we see Helen's brains blown out all over Marty and Wendy. And then, Omar Navarro comes up and gives them this big hug and says, we're going to do such great things together. And then and that's kind of where the season picks up, right? After the car scene, of course, like that's kind of which is a flash forward.
Yeah, like there's a party, and
that's where we meet Javi, because Javi's he's the new antagonist, I guess. He's a new character. What do you make of him? What's your?
Yeah, he's like the impulsive, like psycho. They kind of explain him well, actually, in that one scene where Omar Navarro kind of explains, like, "Oh, this generation, they have no patience. They just want everything now." And like that's very much what Javi is. He's got no patience. He likes. I always notice with him too. He likes the finer things in life. He likes nice restaurants. He likes nice, good food. He's always, whereas Omar Navarro is not like that. He's more about people. It seems like he cares more about his kids and his family and his relationship, even with Wendy, and he seems to care more about those things.
And his priest,
yeah, like a man of people more so than Javi's more of possessions. He likes the finer things. He likes good food. He says to Marty once, he's like, "I got some good reservations for you in Chicago." He's like, "Great." I'm like, he's like, "Why are you in my casino?"
Right. Yeah, like he's obviously reckless, impulsive, but dangerous. And I guess what's interesting to me about him is that, yeah, he is so impatient. He's clearly got issues. And we don't know the rest of these. I don't really know how cartels work, but I understand that they work very much like the rest of organized crime does, and so he seems a little bit too much like a Sonny Corleone type, not enough like a Michael Corleone type. That he isn't really the obvious choice to be the heir apparent to Omar of this cartel, but that's what they say he is. He says he's the because Omar pretty much steps aside. Does he even like Javi?
I think he kind of just doesn't. He's family, but he looks at him as like yeah, like all the adjectives that you just laid out about him, like that. He even says it, like, yeah, his generation's impatient. He even says to Javi directly, like, these are the tough decisions you're gonna have to make, and it's like, kind of like knows he's like this impulsive person, a lot like Darlene. It's kind of fitting that like he's the one who kills Darlene, because he's very much like her in the fact that he just like, all right, boom, dead, without shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, and then he kills Wyatt. He goes, whoever you are.
Yeah, right. Like, Darlene's very much the same way. Like, she just kills like Dell in out of like really nowhere.
When things were supposed to be like de-escalating in that scene, right? Things were cooling off, and then she kills them out, and then
but he called them rednecks or something.
Yeah, he called them rednecks, and she kills them right out of the bat. Like, where she kills Dell, and then Jacob has to kill the bodyguard that's with Dell.
Yeah. And so like everything with that is like, at least he brought a bodyguard, didn't work out for him, but
didn't work. It wasn't enough.
No, Frank Cosgrove, could have, at least brought somebody,
Right. Yeah. The cartel and and Javi he's clearly antagonistic towards the birds immediately, right from the first meeting. He kind of says as much. He's like, I told Omar we should kill the other white meat, not Helen. We should have killed the birds instead, because I guess that it came down to at the end of season 3, it came down to it was Helen or them. And I guess Helen was kind of forcing that issue, and then on the other end, Wendy was forcing that issue, and Omar chooses Wendy basically.
Yeah, but they all it kind of came to a head where both of them like no longer trusted each other. So it's like, all right, cartel, you got to pick, and then they did. But I don't think they saw it coming because Helen just thought it was going to go her way because they had that false confession, which is also picked up here with the whole FBI Maya storyline too. Which, what do you make of her, Dave? Like, let me ask you this: like, do you look at her, the FBI agent? I think her name is Maya. She's pregnant, and then she gives birth, and she has a newborn, and then she's also like trying to take down like the second biggest cartel in Mexico, and like jump ahead a little bit. Like, let's get to when she decides to actually arrest Omar Navarro. Do you think like are you like on her side, or are you more like, oh, that was a mistake, or like how do you look at her character?
Just a quick comment here in the chat. I will answer that question. Our fan here, Sam Higdon, mentioning that the Celebrity Big Brother 3 cast has been released. And we will be talking about that here on Super Mario Brothers podcasting starting in a week. But we'll be doing a draft, a cast preview draft, Sam. But for now, we're still back to Ozark.
So back to Ozark. Yeah. So is Maya too righteous, Dave?
Well, isn't Maya what we want an FBI agent to be?
Yes, you would think so.
What we want law enforcement to be, like the whole thing here at the end, where like they're Omar Navarro. He wants the whole premise of the season, and the reason he killed Helen and he chose the birds. He's like, you're gonna help me go straight. I'm gonna get out of the life, and I'm going to and they're like, that's ridiculous. Like, there's no way the head of an organized crime drug cartel like you is going to just walk away from this and be like, he's going to fly to the US and Mexico like it's nothing and whatever. And at the end here, where they make the deal with him, they're like, at the FBI is like, yeah, you're actually going to keep running the cartel for us and for 5 years. And then you're like, maybe that's the pragmatic thing or whatever, but like if you're actually trying to fight these people, you're doing a terrible job.
Well, no, but it makes sense from like the FBI or whatever's point of view, because you have this main cartel boss coming to you saying, I want out. And you're like, well, we can't do that, but we can make you an informant. That sounds very much like what the FBI would want to do, to get as much information about how the cartel works and how they can, best spy on them going forward and all those things, at the end of the day, it's all about money, and the government's in it for some money as well, I would imagine. Like they even say, Marty says to him, like, oh, you got all those budgets, like you guys have been trying to nail him down for 10 years, but if you get him, then you get budget increase and you get all that kind of like, carrots are dangling in front of them and they go for it for sure. Like, and we also get that here with the pharmaceutical rep Claire that's, needs the birds as heroin, or the cartel, and then it ends up becoming the Snell's heroin. But to make our, what is her thing? She's making like oxys, but is trying to find a way to make it non-addictive or something anymore. Or I forget what the deal is with her, but she is trying to do a good thing. But
yeah, like she's basically they make like the legal opiates, like morphine and stuff like that,
right? But she's trying to do something also to research a way to make it non-addictive or something, so they can stop the opiate crisis, because she does want to do that. But she
yeah, they decided that they really like. I don't know if they've always wanted to address the opiate crisis in a big way, but this season it felt like it was a really big part of this season. Right.
Well, I mean, we've had like the FBI agent from season 1 that was he was all his mother was addicted to heroin. There was all sorts of addiction, especially opiate addiction references. We have the girl that ran the Blue Lagoon, I think it was, down by the first money laundering thing that she ended up getting taking a bunch of money and then getting hooked on heroin again. Relapsing, so a lot of that heroin and opiate addiction has definitely become a part of the show.
I guess that's to like remind us too that like these are the victims of drugs.
Yeah.
You know, that Marty Bird is not, you know, while he seems like he's not hurting anybody, he indirectly is, because he's funding the drug trade, and he's enabling them to, you know, cause this suffering, like to that FBI agent's mother and to others, right? You know, I think that theme was kind of explored a lot in Breaking Bad as well, right? With the crystal meth, and
Sure.
What does that lead to, and what's the consequences of all that?
Which is what a good show should do, because like it shouldn't just be like about, you know, the business dealings, you know, which there's a cause and there's an effect. And ultimately it's about the characters, their performances, and how they navigate this world. That is interesting to watch.
For sure. Yeah. Like, but back to what's her name? Maya. Like, you know, is she too righteous? Well, I think like often what we see in these types of stories is that you know, they'll die. She'll die before this, probably, or
right. Like, well, that's the I do think that she's gonna get killed, because now the cartel knows who, especially Javi knows her face, knows that she was part of taking down their truck. Like, you know,
right. Yeah. She seems like she would be in trouble.
Yes.
Even with Omar, because she kind of it was a double cross on Omar, right here.
Yes. It was a triple cross. She crossed Omar, crossed the bird, then crossed the actual FBI. They didn't want that to happen either.
No. And then ultimately and you disappoint me, Wendy. You disappoint me.
Especially you, Wendy.
Especially you, Wendy. I don't know how much that's going to matter to her long term, but
well, yeah. I think that was just about the fact that like apparently like, you know, Omar's kind of like has a thing for Wendy.
Yeah, he's like remember me, Wendy.
He would call her up and just talk about like his feelings.
Yeah, like, he likes talking to her.
He just likes talking to her, and so, but it's also like somewhat romantic, because I think he's, like I said, like before, what motivates him more is people and relationships, whereas Javi is the complete opposite, which is what is interesting. Also, it's like a mirror to Wyatt and Darlene. Darlene doesn't really care about people. She only cares about power and kind of, you know, like she's a bit more complex there. I think she cares for Wyatt, but not really, you know, not to the point where I feel like Wyatt cares for her or cares for the baby. You know,
who, Darlene?
Yeah, like, do you think Darlene? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think. She obviously loved Jacob, and we saw what happened to him. So
yeah, exactly.
So like, I don't think you can really accept that Darlene will be good in certain ways, even though she's unpredictable in others. She's all around unpredictable, dangerous, and this is what Ruth says to Wyatt. You know, she's dangerous. She, you know, like maybe today you're okay, but tomorrow and it's not like, ultimately it's just the heat that her stubbornness and her unwillingness to listen to the bird's warning is her undoing, and ultimately his. Well, he was part of that conversation too, so he kind of walked into this too, right? Because they were like, you need to stop, and they're like, we're not going to stop, and you know, you can tell your Mexicans to screw off and whatever.
Yeah, and he supports it, and like Wyatt is like not quite, I just don't think he's a little innocent, and is kind of has the wrong outlook on like what Darlene's up to and how it is the interpolitics with the cartel and the birds. Like, he doesn't, I just don't think he gets it.
No, but he's a kid.
Yeah, he's a kid, but he's also, you know, a person that's lost his dad, a person that's seen Ruth be involved with all this stuff.
He kind of grew up in a family of criminals, right?
Yeah, like he should be a bit more savvy about this, you know, and like I just think he's very like, you know, I think what motivates him is just, again, people. It's not possessions or money or things or anything like that, or justice. It's just he wants to protect the baby. He wants to protect Ruth, but that's why he contemplates running away with her a couple of times. But then he doesn't want to.
But he also wants a home, right? I think he wants a home of his own. He grew up kind of sleeping on top of a trailer, basically, right? You know, in the wood. You know, I think he's found home for the first time. Something that resembles a normal life, even though it's completely not, but it's the closest thing he's ever had to one, and he doesn't want to let it go. Like running off with Ruth, while I think is somewhat tempting to him. It's it's not. He's known her forever, his whole life, and I think that doing something new and different and finding his own path is exciting, but it's the wrong decision because Darlene's dangerous, unpredictable, and the heat that was brought down onto them, got them killed.
Yeah. Speaking of like Darlene, let's talk a little bit about Wendy, and like they're kind of back and forth in this season where like there's just so much great like condescension and Wendy toward Darlene, and Darlene like they're calling each other up and saying, "Oh, it was so nice to see you," and like stuff like this. And I don't know. I just like their whole back and forth. And then Darlene has the heart attack when she finds out that what is it that Ruth was bought back their heroin or whatever, and then resold it back to the cartel so they can make this deal. And Ruth does this a couple times to her in this season. But then we get that with Wendy. I don't know. I just really enjoy Darlene and Wendy kind of going back and forth here. Like she comes and visits her in the hospital after her heart attack, and like
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Wendy's never been so. Wendy has changed in this season, right? Like I think the death of her brother, and I think it's worth talking about Wendy and Jonah, and their whole arc in this season. I think she was already had issues. She already had issues, Wendy, but now I think she's broken is not maybe the right word, but she's twisted.
Twisted's a good one.
Like I think she was broken after her brother died, and she was drinking liquor in a minivan or whatever she was doing in the Walmart parking lot. But
that's an ultimate low.
But ultimately, like Jonah, this rebellion against her, and there's resentment and hatred, and she tries to like make peace with him, or she tries to move on, and he won't have it, and then she becomes outwardly belligerent against him, and Marty's sort of trying to and Charlotte, they're trying to broker the peace between them, and I think that the toll of that on Wendy is you see that like manifest in like that scene where she goes to visit Darlene in the hospital, and almost glow, but when Darlene came up to her, she basically had the heart attack because Wendy like scared her. Right?
Yeah.
Like said, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" It shocked Wendy, Darlene. Right?
Yeah, because Darlene's normally the one that is batshit crazy and everyone is intimidated by it. But Wendy is like so unfazed by it that I think Darlene's like a little bit taken aback for sure.
They could have killed Darlene right there, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't. They wait. Yeah, that's right. Because I think they wanted that reason for Javi to have to kill Wyatt. I think they, because I guess he could have shown up to the house just the same, and Darlene's already gone. It's just Wyatt. That would be the audience would be a bit like, what? You know what I mean?
I guess she still has to be alive for it to make sense for Wyatt to be there, and for his murder to make sense, because like he says, he doesn't even know who Wyatt is.
No, there's no clue, and also the fact that how like when Javi calls up Claire and asks like, oh, like who was the other person that like made the deal, and it basically describes Ruth. Is he gonna go after Ruth anyway? Should Ruth just go after Javi, or should, I don't know. Like I think there might be a little bit
what has Ruth got to lose?
What? Yeah, well, like that's it. Like
3, I guess that's it.
Yeah, she has 3 left. You heard it here first. His name is a number.
Right. But like I think like that's all, everyone else is gone. All the other Langmores are dead now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the Curse of the Langmores is definitely strong here on this show. Like where it's literally just Ruth and 3 left. That's it.
And 3 is like kind of insignificant. Although I barely recognized it when he showed up. I was like, is this 3?
Yeah. So like Wyatt's dead, like the Ruth's dad's dead, Wyatt's dad is dead, his brother's dead. That's a lot in just like what, a year?
Not even like we're saying. Like, how old is this baby? Like 3 months old,
right? And is it Ruth's baby now? Wasn't
Ruth just took the baby. I was like, wasn't this the baby social service was coming to get?
They were coming to get, yeah, because Wendy called on them.
Yeah,
and then they got but then they got married, so that stopped that.
But then they got murdered. So, like, when they assumed that the baby was abducted by the murderers.
Well, I wonder if like that, like because like Ruth was there, right? Like, is that crime scene going to be a crime scene, or is it going to get cleaned up?
Javi just left it. Like,
he doesn't seem to care.
You know, for a guy who's supposed to be the big, huge mob boss, he sure does a lot of like the dirty work himself.
Yeah, like which is not usual. Like who's the person he kills? When he kills the sheriff, and then he gets Marty to come over to clean it up, and then the next sheriff comes over and he almost kills her too.
Right? Yeah.
Marty has to tell him no,
but he doesn't have a criminal record in the States. He can travel between the United States and Canada, no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's never been caught.
And they literally have, like, in this season, there's the confession where Marty pulls it out of him or whatever, that he set up the FBI explosion.
Who did?
Javi. Like, where?
Yeah.
There's that whole scene with Marty where he literally says like that, like he admits that they blew up that van, which almost killed 4 federal officers, which is what the FBI said they cared about, but they didn't seem to care about that at all once the deal started to occur.
Right. So the thing with Javi is like he is kind of this formidable antagonist in some ways because he's so dangerous and he's so impulsive. But on the other hand, he's not as smart as Marty Byrde. He's not as smart as most of the other characters on this show. So Will is his muscle, like even Omar Navarro had a much more calculating sense to him, right? And or Del or Helen. And now with Javi, he's just like this. He's just pure rage and sort of impulse and whatever. So he's probably the most dangerous of all the ones they've had to deal with. He seems like he's the most easy to take head on, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't think the problem's going to be, killing Javi. I think it's the fallout from killing Javi.
Right. So like Ruth tracks him down somehow. Probably in the US, but maybe in Mexico. Who knows? Mm-hmm. And she kills him. Okay, then what? I think
the FBI and the cartel will be uber pissed at her.
Right, because if the Navarro cartel goes away, what's the problem? That some other cartel will fill the void, and
that they don't have as much info on, that they haven't been following for 10 years, and that also
they'll have to start all over again.
Pretty much, but at the same time, it's like I don't really see why they care so much. Like, they seem to be okay with it. That's the thing that, like, I think this show really showed toward the end about the FBI is that they're fine with drug cartels, and they want they want a job to do. They don't really care about them bringing heroin in, and like from like that's like the whole crisis that Maya has, where she eventually says, no, we're just going to arrest Omar Navarro anyway, because her superiors are like, we're just going to use them to find out more. Yeah, they're corrupt, and they really just want a job. They want bigger budgets and to get bonuses and to get raises or whatever they success, and that's what they see as success, not getting the bad guys, because in their mind, just a new bad guy will pop up right in their place,
But I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, like I don't know either. Like
yes, you pull out a weed, maybe another one grows up in its place, but then you pull that one out too. It's like until there's no more weeds.
Right. And then you just get some Rogaine. Or not Rogaine, you know what I mean.
Some Roundup?
Some Roundup. That's it. Yeah, you get some Roundup. Not Rogaine. That's if you're bald. That's if you want to grow stuff. Right. Roundup. You just kill the whole field. But yeah, like the FBI doesn't seem to want to do that at all. They seem to want to know what's going on rather than be in the dark.
Well, yeah, maintain the status quo. right?
Mhm.
You know, like the who benefits, right? And I think that's the thing is like, how do you really enact change when you have these kinds of forces at play? You know, or do you just try to make the best for your own self in a messed up world? I think that's what often a lot of these characters are asking themselves, right? You know, whether you're in law enforcement or you're a criminal, I don't know if there's much difference, right? Like that's often what I sort of get the impression from watching a lot of these shows is that you're going to be sort of morally bankrupt either way by the end of
Right.
it, you know,
Which is a great like conversation that Maya has with like the guy she turned in that took the false confession, the other black FBI agent, the bald guy. Yeah, like he you know, kind of says to her like, look, like, you know, how can you look down on me so much when you're in here down in the muck with the rest of us? You know, you can't really, you know. She's like, what am I, a hypocrite? You know, blah 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 blah. She kind of goes off on him, but like he has a point. Like, you know, like you're kind of like what you were saying, dude. Like they're all kind of in the muck of crime here, and
they all start seeing gray, but she's the exception, right? Like she's the white knight who is not, like she's not the Harvey Dent, you know.
Yeah, well, she is kind of the Harvey Dent character up until, but maybe she'll. I don't think she'll
have her Two-Face moment.
I don't think so, but yeah, like, you know, Harvey Dent could have died in that, you know, explosion of, you know, Rachel explosion, the Rachel explosion. You know, maybe Rachel would have survived had Batman not gone after. That's a whole other story, but Batman.
Well, yeah, but like, what if like her baby was killed, right?
Right.
How morally righteous she could be after that, or something, you know, something along those lines.
I could only imagine, you know, like, I wonder where they'll take her character because I do think there's more there to be explored. Yeah. Anyone else that like that's kind of standing out that we haven't talked about?
Well, what do you think about Jonah? What do you think about his like? Do you agree with how he feels about his mom and the actions she took? And you know,
yeah, I think you could just as easily ask that question about what's the daughter's name again?
Charlotte.
You could just as easily ask the question about that, because like she's very much like her mom and is really into the family business, is very loyal, whereas yeah, Jonah is a lot more, you know, views this as, you know, fucked up, and you know his mom turned over his brother to be killed, and like that's just like that's something you can just forget about, especially if you're like 15 years old, 16 years old, however old Jonah's supposed to be in this show.
14, I think, at this point. But it's like this role reversal because in the beginning, when they all found out what their parents were up to, like Jonah was the one who wanted to be loyal and helpful, and Charlotte was the rebel, and now they flipped.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. It's, you know, shows do that a lot, but like, yeah, it makes sense because he found out a truth that was so messed up, and Charlotte hears that point blank, and it doesn't really change her. You know,
I think because the whole what happened to her brother? Like her brother, his name was Ben, right? Like in season 3, like did Wendy have another choice? Did you understand why she sold him out?
And the other question to that is also, is Wendy right that like Ruth shouldn't have pulled him out of the mental hospital? Like she went out of her way to make sure that he was safe there, and that was probably going to be the best place for him, kind of like what she wants to do to Jonah here and send him to jail, that maybe he would actually be the safest in jail, you know, considering what's going on with them right now. Right. You know, and there's conversations about Charlotte, like, oh, you should go, like, when you go to Chicago, what do you want to do? And, you know, so like I understand where Wendy's coming from, but her solutions are very radical.
Because I think once Ben found out about what they were up to, and once he found, you know, and then especially when he went up to Helen and her daughter, and he's like, your mom's a drug lord and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Like, come on. You know, heck, Helen would have killed them all.
Yeah.
Right? Killed the entire Bird family.
Right.
Over this, right? And they're hiding him, and like she's trying to take him somewhere, and then he keeps buying phones, and he keeps trying to call Helen to smooth it over. And you're like, the only thing you can do is lock him up That's like, right? Like that's the
Well, that
only
was
you can
way
do.
after that. That was way after that. Yeah, like she tried to lock him up before that, right?
She
And
tried all kinds of things, right? And like, so I guess, like, is it Ben's fault that they were involved in this? No, but once Ben found out, and his condition, he having this bipolar condition, he's not really completely responsible for what he's doing either,
yeah,
because he's mentally ill. But I don't know what Wendy, what was the other choice? Like, run away from the cartel with Ben for as long as possible when he's going to try to call them every 5 minutes when you.
yeah.
Like, it didn't make sense. Like,
Yeah, I understand. Well, you understand where Wendy's coming from. Then you look at you're sympathetic to her reasons.
I'm more sympathetic to Wendy and to Charlotte and Marty. That's saying, like, yeah, it was sad, yeah, it was messed up, but like Jonah trying to be like this, like, sort of like absolute about it, and to condemn his mother over it, I think is kind of, I don't know, like again, he's young and sort of, maybe he'll come around, like Charlotte said, but I think that the birds were strongest when they were working as a unit, right? And they aren't anymore.
Yeah, but it's also like I understand, like, Jonah's moral compass is firing here, and he's I think you want that for like, he's told a lot in the season, no, you need to grow up, but at the same time, he's the only one looking at this from a moral standpoint. Yes, everything you said is right rationally, but morally it was completely like unforgivable. So so that's what makes it a good conundrum.
Right.
So it's very, like, the end of season 3 is very cringy to watch, especially because of Ben. Because, like, everything you're saying about, like, especially when he walks up to Helen and then he's like trying to call her, and everything with him is just like, oh god, and it really makes it okay as a viewer to be like, oh, okay, I understand why Wendy did this, but at the same time, it doesn't make it any easier.
Well, it doesn't mean she's innocent. No, like, she's guilty. She's certainly guilty of something, but I don't know. Her only other choice was to, like, try to turn themselves all in, I guess, and try to go into witness protection. But that probably, like, that was the only possible out.
They could have done that long before this,
Which, I guess, the other thing. Let's talk about the lawyer. And the where did he was originally Buddy's lawyer, right? Like,
the guy that was like the head of the state or the governor or senate or whatever he was.
What was
I forget his name, but like Wendy was dealing with him to get the casino.
Yeah, he was like the donor guy, right?
Yeah.
And he also had a thing for Wendy. Everyone's got a thing for Wendy.
Everything's got a thing for Wendy. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this lawyer, like, he's pretty much a straight guy, though. He's just, and so they're like, she's like, come work for me, lawyer man. And he's like, okay. And then she's like, well, you're gonna be working with me in the FBI on this drug cartel thing. And while it is illegal, this is the legal part of it. And he's like, well, if I get involved here, I've always had a policy of not getting involved with anything too criminal.
Something that can get me killed.
Anything that will get me killed. Yeah, I think is what he says. And he says yes to, like, he dips his toe in, and it's like, once you dip your toe in,
yeah,
it's like
there will be a mob cartel boss at your door threatening you that you are now his lawyer too.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And, like, he turns and flips on them because he's so scared, I guess. And so I guess it's like when the birds got involved with Dal, right? And this whole thing, like,
well, he was going to be killed. Like, that's the whole crux of the show, is that he was going to be killed, just like Javi has him on the ground here in the finale here of part 1, where he's about to be killed, and then he comes up with the whole idea with the Ozarks, and in this episode, he comes up with the whole thing about how Omar is going to be FBI informant or whatever, and he's like tells him the truth, basically, right? And that's kind of what lets him live. So he's now done it to Dal and now Javi, where he's like, you think Marty's gonna die, and then boom, he saves himself.
Right. I guess the whole you can look at the Birds' decisions, right? Like getting involved, they thought that we can launder this money for a few years and we can get really rich and kind of walk away from it. But I think then Dell on a whim kills the partner, sniffs out that he was embezzling from him, and was going to kill Marty too and put him into a thing. And I guess they was going to track down Wendy, right? And would that have been better if he had died there, and even if he had tracked down Wendy later on? Would there be fewer bodies on the floor now?
I think the Langmores might not have died as fast. They probably would have died, but the
sheriff,
Mason,
his wife, all these other people along the way.
There's been a lot of deaths on this show.
And other lives ruined.
Driver dude, Darlene, Joseph's now,
like Ben,
yeah. There's a lot.
Helen, even some of these other criminals, they would still be going.
Yeah. No, right? That's definitely true, but it's all from Marty's salesman. His salesman ability to sell the Ozarks and the money laundering basically started this chain effect of lots of different people getting killed. Now, maybe that's just the way the cartel and FBI and mob stuff goes. It's just there's going to be lots of people getting killed, and once you get into that pool, like you were saying, that's what just occurs, But a lot of people, I think you're right, would have not have been indirectly killed.
And I guess it's like if you ever think, I guess the cautionary tale about this whole show, and it's been a part of a lot of these shows, is the second you go into the underworld, you probably will never come out.
Yeah, it's hard to get out of this. And even like in this season, I keep teasing like, oh, the birds are going to get out from the wings of Navarro, and that this is, that they can see a light at the end of the tunnel.
No way.
Right. And it's like, I don't know.
Even if Javi was gone, I don't think that would even be the case. Like, you take him off the board, I think they're always going to know who the birds are.
Who is?
The cartel.
FBI? Oh, the cartel, yeah. Yeah, whether or not they come after him, I guess it would just be another leader. It would be Javi's cousin. Or, whatever.
Yeah, it'd be the next Navarro relative, or whoever, those other guys that were around the table. Because you see, remember that scene where Omar punches Javi in front of them all?
Yeah.
And then he makes him the new boss an episode later.
Right. Yeah, it's a bit much. Yeah, it moves very quick. And then he's in jail, and now he's going to be in jail probably for the whole season, the rest of this next season. Whether or not he's going to, I don't know if he's going to be on the show all that much now. Omar. Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's his chess piece has been taken off the board quite a bit.
We only have 7 episodes left, right? So there's only so much story left to tell. And a bunch of the characters have died. We've lost the sheriff. We've lost we've lost Wyatt. We've lost Darlene. Who else have I missing? There's the 3 biggest. I don't know. Yeah, Omar might be out of the picture now.
Yeah,
more or less. We might see him again.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what occurs next. But let's
talk about Ruth maybe, because we haven't really talked about her at all. But
that'd be a good person to talk about here. Yeah, I feel like her whole season is about trying to get away from this whole life and just leave with Wyatt and 3 and just get the hell out of there. That's really what she wants, but she won't leave without Wyatt, and Wyatt's kind of stuck to this, even though he shouldn't be.
But when you think about what is Ruth's arc throughout the whole show to you so far?
She's the girl that, comes from nothing and has, just with her, her charm and wit and personality and smarts, has gotten a lot of knowledge and experience, and she's a survivor. That's kind of how I look at her. She just keeps going and is very adaptable to whatever situation and tragedy. I would say there's the other thing that just follows her. Her dad got killed, and now with Wyatt and Ben and her mom, and just everything with her is tragedy.
We got to meet her mother's sister in this season too, right?
Yeah, the last episode. Yeah, the whole last episode is kind of heartbreaking for Ruth because like she talks to Wyatt, tries to talk him out of marrying Darlene, and he says he's going to do it. And then she wants to come to the wedding, and she doesn't go to the wedding, and 3 goes, and like it's just everything with it is very heartbreaking because she's like all she does is actually really care about her family. She doesn't really care about money all that much, and things. And really, what she wants is people.
She wants respect, right?
She wants that too, and she's good at what she does. But really, what she loves is Wyatt and 3, and just having something of her own.
Right. Like, and like she starts off as basically an antagonist, and now she's almost the main character of the show.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like the arc that you don't really see that a lot when someone starts off like as like a complete like not likable person,
a villain, right?
A villain almost, and then kills.
She's trying to kill Marty for the first season.
Yep, and she also like kills her own uncle and
her dad. No, her uncles, right? She kills her 2 uncles.
Yeah, her kills both 2 of her uncles, because they were going to kill Marty. So she chooses Marty over her own family, and now she would never do that.
No.
So it's very interesting. Her whole arc is kind of like just tragic, but also like you can't help but respect her. She's really come a long way from that first season. I mean, yes, you're right. She's the main. Like when has that ever happened? Where like I would say she's more of a main character than even Wendy is. Like I think. Because she's the rootable character. Everyone likes Ruth, like
everyone, all sides like her, right?
Yeah, like I think any person watching the show loves Ruth. I mean,
but she's never interacted with Omar. She's never interacted with so far with Javi, although I expect that's going to be an interaction.
Yeah,
right. But like Darlene respected her, and Marty and Wendy for a time until they had their blow up over Ben, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, and so that's kind of I don't think they're reconciling.
You're right. She's only kind of interacted with the cartel a couple of times. Like it's a lot of it's been indirect,
and a lot of it was Helen, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Who like waterboarded her and all that.
Yeah, like it's been that was the most direct moment where they almost killed her, right? And Marty had to watch her, like had to wait.
Yeah,
like all that stuff was the most direct influence she had from the cartel, and she knows how serious they are, but she's not in the muck as much as like Wendy and Marty are. Like they're calling Omar Navarro the head of the cartel on his personal phone and talking to him.
Right, they're using her more to like do like the street level stuff,
stuff, right? But that whole thing too, like where he goes and kills Darlene, Javi goes and kills Darlene and Wyatt. It's like, did he have to do it? Probably not. He was just mad. He was just pissed off that the birds didn't do what they were told, and Darlene didn't stop selling heroin, which screwed up his pharmaceutical business deal with the birds because he was trying to choke them, basically. The birds were going to use the cartel originally, and then they the whole thing with the Maya was the agent at the explosion, and he found out that they had to pull that, so then the birds had to use Darlene's heroin instead, and that's what pissed him off so much, because he was actually trying to screw the birds.
So you're saying he killed Darlene because to hurt the birds?
Yeah. Also because I think so in a lot of ways, because like the birds used that heroin to get around the problem of him trying to pull all their heroin to screw up their deal. He wanted to screw up their deal because he didn't trust them.
Yeah. Right, because there has been a lot of like these like metaphors, and they've shown us through the show. The fact that their last name is Bird is obviously not. It's very specific. It's very deliberate. And they talk about like the invasive species that come in and kill everything and then leave. Ultimately, is that just what the show, like at the end of the day, the birds maybe are going to walk away, all 4 of them alive, and everyone, like Ruth and everybody else, is dead.
Yeah, like, and there's a bird, like in the final episode, there's like a bird, like a crow, I think, in the mall where they go to like do the negotiation with Omar and the FBI. So there's all sorts
in that empty mall, yeah,
in the empty mall. Like there's all sorts of like symbolism there. That is definitely direct and very well done. The whole show is definitely well thought about, and really, really good that way, where you can really analyze it. I love like the title cards where like they put up all the different
4
pictures,
symbols,
that spell Ozark, and so like all that stuff's really, really good. You can really look into everything. Here with this final episode, I also know, like, for instance, in this final episode in the mall, like, we have the Santa Claus set up. So is this around Christmas?
I guess.
See, like, it's hard to tell like what time of year it is. They never really say. Like,
I'm not sure how much it matters, because I don't know if because all we know for sure is not a lot of time has gone by. 3 months, I think, is the most, right? 6 months?
I don't know. Yeah.
Zeke is still a baby. That's what I keep coming back to.
But Zeke wasn't born at the beginning of the show, was he?
But he's born at the end of the show, isn't he? He's born at the end of season 1.
Is it the end of season 1? I don't remember exactly when, but
well, it's got to be before she or after she like, the mother dies, right? Like Mason's wife dies in season 1. So it's got to be around that time.
Yeah, it's got to be probably at the end of season 1. Yeah, that's crazy that it's that long ago.
Yeah, and they could have time jumped, but they chose not to, right? Like, so they want this to feel like it. And Buddy, I guess, but the guy living in their basement, like, how long was he alive for? I guess before he died, right? Like
just a few months, I think. Maybe like 4 months. Yeah, that is interesting. They could, like, that's an interesting thing about this show is, like, why doesn't they time jump? They knew the actors were going to get older. They knew the show was going to take 4 or 5 years to do. Why not just time jump it a couple times? Like, you do a montage where they're laundering money, and you make a year go by.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. Just maybe the creators just always had a certain amount of time that they wanted the show to span. I think the pandemic, slowed things down in this production of this last season, because, it goes 2017, 2018. The 3rd season was released in 2020, but then this new season is not coming out until 2 years later, right? So I think they're just trying to do the best they can with it. Did you also notice, Jeff, that the last 2 episodes of this were directed by Robin Wright?
Yes, I did.
The from House of Cards and Forrest Gump. And Jenny. I know she's directed stuff as well, but I was like, oh, Robin Wright's directing the episodes.
She's directed like lots of House of Cards too. Obviously, she's on that show, but
yeah, I guess it's like when somebody directs a show that they're already on. Like Jason Bateman had directed some episodes of this show, and you're like, okay, he's already on the show, so for him to be the director too.
Well, that's the only reason he chose to do this show was because they were going to let him direct.
Oh, really? Because he wanted to get into that.
Yeah, because he was going to go make movies before he decided to do this show. He was going to go make like films and direct. And then they gave him the opportunity to do this show and direct. And he was like, well, I can't pass that up. So it's what they went with, or he went with, which was a good decision, I would say. But yeah, like, because now I think he'll get a really good movie to do if he wants to do one, but I'm surprised that Robin Wright's directing like crucial episodes like that, like, because I would imagine like Jason Bateman would want them, or
one of the other big directors from the show, like like Andrew Bernstein or one of those guys.
Especially like an episode 7, like, here where it's like
but you can't say that she did a bad job, like these last 2 episodes.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't say that at all. I'm just surprised they chose her, because she's not really connected to the show other than, I don't know if she's
not on the show. She's not. Yeah, like you think, but maybe she's just a massive fan, and and she's like, I'm going to come in here and direct these last 2 episodes.
Or she's just a talented director, and they wanted to use her.
I guess, but her directing experience is limited. So,
yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's interesting. Like, I guess the director doesn't matter as much on a TV show as,
Not as much as a
a
movie,
writer.
no.
Yeah, as a writer, but they still matter. And a lot of things have already been figured out for this show. But yeah, for like big moments, I guess you would want an actor director too. Like you would want someone that play like, especially for emotional scenes and this.
Well, you want whoever's going to bring the best out of their actors. That's what a director's job is to do. Largely, get the best performances, the right nuances, and so yeah, like I just it's interesting that she did this. I don't know what the connection is to anybody else or if any, other than but
yeah, I have to look into that and see kind of.
will she direct more episodes in this last season? And when will we get the finale? Because they haven't even announced the date, right? For the next 7 episodes, the final 7 episodes?
I think it'll be like in the summer.
Yeah.
I hope we don't have to wait that long, but I think that's why.
You think we're going to have to wait 6 months, maybe?
Yeah, that's what the people are saying, that it's going to be like, it could be like even the fall, but like hopefully not. Hopefully.
But the episodes are already done.
I know. Like he said, like Jason Bateman was on Jimmy Kimmel the other night, and he said, we'll get the next 7 episodes sooner than you think. But what the hell does that mean? Like
well,
is
maybe
it
maybe like a month or something would be nice. Like we'll do a podcast when that after those have aired, and then we'll wrap this all up. So
yeah,
how soon will we be back here talking about it? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's soon. I hope it's like by June. Because yeah, like I want to know the end. I want to see what happens. Like I'm surprised that Netflix decided to do this whole. We have 14 episodes, not 20, because they could have done 2 more seasons, but they were like, no, we only really have 14 more of story to do. So they're like, all right, 2 7-episode kind of mini seasons is what they did here, and just made it a giant season 4. Which is kind of nice. I wish shows would do this more, where it would be like, do like 3 seasons and then a big 4th season.
It's kind of like what they do in movies. You get like the Hunger Games, and then you get the next Hunger Games, and then they split the 3rd book into two movies, right? Like,
I just think that's a good amount of episodes. I think most shows, if they just went 3 seasons and then a big 4th season, I think you would get like, that's enough time to do a great show and a great, like Breaking Bad was 5 seasons, but like that kind of thing, like where that's about the right amount of time for a show. I think once it goes past that, it's like it becomes The Walking Dead, as previously mentioned on this podcast.
Walking Dead is like an example of a show sort of let's not even talk about fatigue. It's like you drive it into the ground, right? And then there are other shows that I think ended maybe a little too soon, like 4 seasons. I feel like this show could have gone a little further. Maybe not. Well, but I'm not the creator of the show, so this is their vision, that it is what it is. It would just be kind of sad to see it end. But
like, what did Sons of Anarchy go? Was that 7 seasons?
It was 7 seasons. And the 7th season's not as good, right? But like Breaking Bad, for instance, is what, 5?
Yeah, and it's a great final season. Like I do think like they stretch out the season sometimes toward the end, and I think it is smarter to go out with like bang, 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 and it's all knockouts.
When you're telling this kind of a story where it can be very like pedantic, it's very ordinary, and then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, somebody gets shot. And like you're like, what? Shock value.
Where'd that come from? Yeah, that's definitely what this show is. But the Sons is kind of like that too. Although they would have their motorcycle montage moments. They don't really do that as much anymore on the show. They did at the beginning, where there was lots of Marty voiceover about money laundering, and that was kind of like the charm to the show at the beginning. But they don't really do any of that anymore. It's just about the characters now.
It's not even just about him anymore. It's like it's all of them.
Yep.
It's not just the Marty Byrde show, but Marty Byrde, I think, is one of the most interesting TV characters I've ever seen. Really, like, period. I think that the way that Jason Bateman plays him, is really interesting. The fact how controlled that character is, how much he does not react.
Yeah, like when he has like Ruth stick a gun in his face, I'm gonna kill you if you don't tell me. And he's like, no, you are not.
Yeah, just like, like people are screaming at him at the top of their lungs, or they're gonna, he's like, yep, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he handles pressure better than
in a very unique way.
Very unique way, and kind of I don't know how he does it where it seems believable sometimes, because like it's almost like, really, like I think anybody would be shitting their pants right now, but he never seems to, and I think that's the whole point. It's like that's why he's still alive, is his demeanor and ability to think under pressure,
right? Because near the end there, where they were flashing back to him and his partner when they first got that office in Chicago. There's nothing wrong with that Camry. That's good.
Right.
But it's deceptive, right? Because they're intercutting to like the present day, and he's actually taking out a new office lease.
Yeah, I think so. But it's also like, I think like, yeah, it's definitely, it's funny because like his boss was all about the flash, and what makes you happy is like, having all the finer things in life. And now he does have all those things, Marty does, but like, because he has cartel money, but it's all tainted, and it's all, you can't really enjoy it, the same way. Because he lives with the fear.
He'll always be looking over his shoulder. Like, as much as they want to pretend they can get out and they can get whatever, you never will get out. Yeah,
most likely not. Only if the FBI allows it, and then even then the cartel would be coming after you, most likely as well.
Yeah, like they've seen too much.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Right? They've seen too much. They know too much. I can't believe it. Like,
that's why I think like that's an interesting point, Dave, because I think if you look at Marty and Wendy believes the only way out is to get to the top of the mountain, be the most powerful, most influential family in the state. That's the only way to get above this and actually survive. Whereas Marty thinks, be practical, be smart, be cautious, keep skating by until eventually you find your moment to either escape or just secure yourself.
Right. I tend to think Wendy's right of their two approaches.
Well, I think Wendy would agree with you. Sure. Well, like I think like with Marty, I think he's not willing to go all the way immoral. Like, whereas
he doesn't want to do anything amoral unless he has to.
Yes.
And Wendy almost enjoys it a bit.
Wendy is also, she enjoys the attention. She was the house mom for a while, but she's used to be in the politics, and she knows how to navigate these people in this world. And she's really good at acting, as far as like, pretending to care about things when she doesn't. And like, she's a lot more savvy and manipulator than Marty is. Marty is more the guts of the operation, where he has all the money laundering down and the accounts, and actually how that all works, the algorithms and the programs. Whereas again, like Wendy's more the people person. She's really good at like lying to people, and great at manipulating them, and great finding what they care about and what they need, and using that and twisting it to get what she needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when they're working together, they are a formidable pair, And then you throw Charlotte and Jonah into the mix. I'm like, whoa, what a criminal enterprise we got going on here! But it won't last. It can't last.
Yeah,
that's just not how it goes.
Yeah, like like the scene here too, Dave, with Marty, where he like busts in on the funeral home, and the guy's like selling the guy a casket, and he's just like, "Gonna need you to leave in like 5 minutes." Okay. 15% off. Okay, 20. And he starts he's like 25% off, but I really need you the fuck out of here. Yeah,
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Great show. I'm excited to see where it ends.
Yeah, me too. I think that's it, though. I think that we've kind of covered what we wanted to say about this until the next 7 episodes come out. For anyone watching, we do cover all sorts of different TV shows, not just Ozarks. We cover Live Long, a podcast. We cover a bunch of Star Trek stuff. We do movies, we do TV, we do radio theaters. So check out all that on this channel. We cover lots of different Marvel stuff. We've covered Hawkeye recently. We have what's the one, Dave? Night Owl coming up, or
Moon Knight's coming up
Knight,
in March. We're also going to be talking about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness when that film releases.
Yes.
So trying to cover all since WandaVision, since the beginning of 2021, we're trying to do a podcast about every MCU installment. We also here talk about Big Brothers, the various versions of Big Brother USA and Canada. And starting next Wednesday, yes, Sam, the Big Brother Celebrity Cast has been revealed. He's also asking if we heard about The Amazing Race. I don't really watch The Amazing Race.
Amanda and I have been watching it.
So did you hear about it, Jeff?
Yeah, what he's referring to, Dave, is the fact that they started the race right before the pandemic. Then the pandemic hit, so they had to cancel. So then they had to bring people back like a year later to rerun the race. They only got through 2 legs. Then they brought back they brought back the same people, but 4 of the teams couldn't continue the race. So they brought back the 2 teams that were already eliminated. They came back, and then they were down there 2 short. And so I'm like, well, this isn't the same race anymore, No. So it's kind of bullshit. That's what I think about it. I don't know. You let me know what you think, Sam.
Now I've heard about it, Sam. And he's also asking, did you ever see The Ultimate Fighter or anything UFC? I'm not a big fan of that either. But he is saying that somebody from NSYNC is going to be on Big Brother Celebrity 3. Okay, so
it's Zach Lance.
So the cast is, who is it? Chris Kirkpatrick.
It's Chris from NSYNC.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the cast. We got Cynthia Bailey Hill, a model / Real Housewives star. Amanda would know her. Todd Bridges from Different Strokes. That's before my time. Todrick Hall, a singer / choreographer / influencer. I think here's the headline. Chris Kattan from SNL. Yes.
Mango's gonna play?
Mango. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Night at the Roxbury's own. Chris Kirkpatrick, of course, from NSYNC. We got Carson Kressley from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Teddy Mellencamp, the Real Housewives star, also the daughter of John Cougar Mellencamp. Shanna Moakler, former Miss USA / actress / reality star. Should we know her? Shanna Moakler, reality star.
1 second. No, I don't know her.
Mirai Nagasu, an Olympic figure skater. Lamar Odom, former NBA player, and former husband of Khloe Kardashian. I think that they're breaking up at the moment. And Misha Cupcake Tate, a former UFC champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think it'll be all right.
Say Todrick Hall is a huge Big Brother fan. He hosted Big Brother 23 after parties. And Todrick Hall was who?
Who is Todrick Hall?
Todrick
Hall. He's a singer dancer, but I've never heard of this guy. Well, who is he?
I don't know.
Why is he a celebrity?
He will be saying bye-bye when evicting, though. So Sam is saying the best TV is going to be coming from Todrick Hall. This guy the celebrity we don't know.
He's from American Idol.
American Idol?
He made it to the semifinals on American Idol.
In what year?
Oh, I don't know. In the 9th season.
All right. Well, I guess Jennifer Hudson did too. So, some big stars came out of American Idol.
Well, yeah, I guess, some of them are going to, but I don't remember him. I guess I was past my American Idol day watching when it was big. I watched it a bit, but I don't, everyone remembers Ruben Studdard and Kelly Clarkson.
And obviously Carrie Underwood.
Yeah. But yeah,
3,
I don't
4,
know.
5,
I'm interested in Chris Kattan.
Chris Kattan. Yeah, he's the Tom Green of this season.
He is.
Who's the Kate Kalen though?
Tom Green's funnier.
So we're gonna be doing a cast preview podcast and a draft amongst the 8 of us who are part of the reality TV draft circle, leading up before next Wednesday's premiere, and then we'll be talking about that. It's only for the month of February. Celebrity Big Brother 3 is going to be coming out, and we'll be talking about that pretty much for that entire month, along with Jameel Robinson. Sam's excited. I see some comments coming through. He was saying, I meant the guy from NSYNC will be saying bye 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 baby bye bye bye. Hey. Yeah, we know the song. Yeah, he did a remix for the 2000s. Anyway, so and then Big Brother Canada 10 will be starting in March. After that, I'll be talking about that with Jameel, and then Big Brother USA 24 in the summer. So Big Brother is busy. Survivor is going to be coming back in March. We'll be talking about that here on Super Maiden Brothers Podcasting. When that new season comes out, Survivor 42. And I think that's it. Oh, and also check out our third channel. It's called Trivial Debates, a monthly show where we argue about movies, TV, sports, in a game show format. We usually do it on the last Sunday of the month, but in this case, we're not. We're going to do it on February 6th. I'll be competing. We got Chris Seymour, Adam Woodward also in the mix, and our cousin Davin hosting. He'll be showing no favoritism. We're going to be talking about what the best movie monologue is and a bunch of other interesting topics. So check out that on Trivial Debates on February 6th live. And yeah, that's it. I think those are all our shows. Also check out our Davin's podcast, Locutors of Trek, my son Eamon's podcast. It's called Let's Talk About Fighting Games. And if you like video games about fighting, he talks about them. So check that out. Wherever Spotify, where you get your audio podcasts.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Dave. Yeah. So join us next time when the next Ozark part 2 of season 4 drops, and we'll be here to cover it. But until next time, I've been Jeff, joined by my brother Dave, and we say, see you later.
If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to fucking kill me!
That's right.